Hello everybody, welcome to my Masterclass. There's no reason not to release your music in 2021. This is going to be a short crash course in how to compose, record, mix, and release your own album at home just using a laptop, microphone, and a MIDI controller. I did this over the summer, back in the spring and the summer. I started in April. So I've had a lot of learning experiences that I can share with you guys, from what programs to use and how to use them and what is important to achieve your certain goals, all the way to actually releasing it into Spotify, iTunes, or whatever it is you're looking to do. YouTube, maybe. This stuff is really a big deal because you're able to build up a following, you're able to build up your portfolio of art. So hopefully when this pandemic is over, you're gonna be more able to hit the ground running. It has been about a year now since we first heard about the coronavirus and this pandemic devastated basically the whole world. And I was actually in Panama when this was happening. And I remember struggling a lot with the thoughts and feelings that I had to go through watching my career basically end at 30 years old. So like all of us who was working in music or performance arts, I had to quickly find a new way to make a living. And not only to make a living, but stay motivated in my craft and stay happy doing music. So I started thinking about ideas, what to do, and the biggest problem with this pandemic was not being able to play with other musicians. It's like it just got cut. Collaboration all of a sudden wasn't happening. I actually haven't played with anyone since February. I think that's a record so far. And collaboration is maybe one of the biggest assets we have as musicians, and especially as jazz musicians, when improvising together and playing off each other. So it was pretty devastating to not be able to get together with other musicians and create music. But after a few weeks, a month, a little bit more time went by, and I started to see Zoom coming up, making it actually easier to collaborate with people during this pandemic. I was able to have direct conversations with people from all around the world, and it didn't matter if I left Panama, I could still record with them. So one thing this pandemic has shed light on is that we were always able to do these things, and that you can create a lot just using a little. So what I decided to do is I want to record my own album from scratch, all by myself, and learn everything that goes into that process. I thought there would be a lot of valuable skills to learn trying to do it all myself. Especially now when you're not able to hire other people, you're not able to go into the studio. So if I can come out on the other side of this pandemic knowing more, I thought that was a good idea. But before we jump into the first track, I thought it would be a good idea to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is PJ Andersson. I'm originally from Sweden. I'm 30 years old. I'm mainly a trombone player, composer, educator. The schools I've gone to that have impacted me the most, I'd say, would be Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, Humber College in Toronto, where I did my full Bachelor of Music, and then Berklee College of Music in Boston, where I got my master's at the Global Jazz Institute. That is also how I met Danilo and got involved in my work in Panama. I've been to the Panama Jazz Festival about 3 years now. This would be my fourth if it wasn't for the pandemic. I've released about 4 records under my own name. And just last year, I started working with Yamaha as a Yamaha artist. So let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna play a track from the new album. It's called Think of Me, and features Anthony Fung from Canada. Myself, I was in Tennessee, US, at the time it was recorded, and my friend Simon Lingmerth from Sweden on the vocals.
Without you, looking back at the time when we were here together, like the sun brightens up all the shadows. You brought light to my life and gave it bigger meaning. Stay strong and look forward. Think of me and keep smiling. We are able to feel you every morning, like the wind is blowing through a majestic oak tree. It's difficult to keep on growing older when you're not here to teach us where we were created. Stay strong and look forward. Think of me and keep smiling. My love will always be amongst you all. Promise me that you will forever keep on sharing with others. Think of me. Think of me. Think of me. Think of
So around the time April came around, I had set my mind to do this project, and I started slowly writing some music. And quickly I started realizing I needed to know what musicians I wanted to have on the record, because I like to write for that specific sound that the person who's going to play has. So I've reached out to friends, and I found the people who were excited to play on. The other challenge I discovered is the equipment you have. You kind of have to write to the equipment you have. So all the music is recorded on this MIDI controller. All the drums, bass, soundscapes, melodies, everything was modeled on this. And a lot of the sounds are actually the original sounds that I created with this. So there's a lot of MIDI, and because of that element, I decided to keep the record kind of electronic. So it became electronic music mixed with jazz. And that's purely because of the limitations of my gear that I have here. So I'm letting the situation I'm in dictate what type of music I'm gonna create. I was thinking that we should pick two songs that kind of contrast each other and go through them from initial composition state to released full product. And we're gonna do it rather quickly. And at the end, we're gonna have a question and answer, so you can kind of ask a question about the process that you are most interested in. I'll go through what type of programs I was using, what kind of problems that I had to overcome, what kind of skills I had to learn to do this whole project. And we'll just break it all down for you right here. So we'll pick Lee Konitz because it has most of the acoustic elements than any song on the album. And then Fly Away, because it is a little bit more on the electronic side. So let's go into the computer and start checking out the original demos when I first started composing these songs. Okay, welcome into Logic. This is where the program that I use mostly for composing. I used to write on a piano. That's how I prefer it usually, but since I've been traveling, this has become my preferred method. So you can see that we have our tracks over here, 44 of them. This is the workspace where I can add waveforms or MIDI signals or basically anything I want. And over here we got a couple of mixers. Here's some timestamp, keeps track of the beats, and a bunch of tools that we can use up here. If you're not familiar with Logic, there's all kinds of different programs you can use, but this is the one that works very well with the Mac, so that's what I've been sticking with. Let's take a listen, and we can stop when something interesting to talk about occurs. Okay, let's stop that. So this song started as a string line, that first melody you heard in the cello. And then I added in the bass afterwards. It's kind of how I usually like to write music. I call it counterpoint style. Kind of write one line here and then I support it with something and then later I fill in the middle. It's usually how melodies and structures come to me, but that's also a good thing about this program. I can easily layer melodies on melodies and find the sound I want. So I write a lot of music. I try to write often, and even if I don't finish an idea, I try to save it down so I can use it later. And this song is not the case. It's not the case with this song, but in many other cases, I think 3 or 4 songs on this album has been old ideas that I have been rediscovered and reused, revamped, and build something larger out of. However, this one was composed only for the pandemic and this particular project in the month of April. Let's keep listening and see how I develop. I'm going to add in some more string melodies and then electronic elements and try to find a good transition into the groove part of the song. bring the melody up an octave. Good little trick to keep things interesting. Bringing the bass in, mimicking the cello. Kind of confuses you if it's a bass or where's it going to go. Okay. See, I like to not try to make the listener go, huh? What happened? I try to make them feel a smooth transition here between the acoustic instruments, which are still just MIDI, and then the drums and the more electronic sounds. It's funny that the drums are actually acoustic drums and then the strings are MIDI, but hey, this is what I had to work with. Now we're going to bring in the vocals. This is my good friend Bridgie Smalls from Canada. And oh, I should mention the drummer here is Ian Wright. He's also from Canada. And when I wrote this, I was in Tennessee. So let's keep listening into the first verse. Okay, that was the first verse right there. So the vocals, let's take a listen to Bridgie here. There's, excuse me, there's actually 2 layers going here. And that's something that I learned during this process. Layering vocals, for example, on top of each other makes it sound way lusher and warmer and bigger and more professional. So sometimes I would take my own voice and record myself singing the same thing maybe 4 times and just putting them on top of each other and playing it at the same time. It kind of sounds like one person, but it has a thickness to it that is hard to get unless you have very professional microphones or you are very good with the compression and EQ and all this stuff and you really know what you're doing. But this is a fast way to make things have a little bit extra body to it. So I was lucky here that Bridgie actually recorded an octave. She's singing in an octave here. Let's take a listen. Jumping into the river, where the angels swimming with me away. Have the low octave, and then the high. It just adds a little bit of a thickness to it. And then when we start mixing, we can I've panned her a little bit to the left on the high and on the low, a little bit to the right. I thought that was also a little character, bringing her voice into a broader space because we're flying away. Now about the lyrics. I did write the melody first because that's how music comes to me, through melodies and rhythms, and words is something I don't have that much experience with. So I listened to the phrase over and over and over, try to imagine some words that fit in or sounds good with the phrase, also to the meaning or story that I want to tell with the song. So here we go, fly away from the pandemic, from being in quarantine, imagining a place where everything is whole and we can't smell the fear in this world. Jumping into the river, where the angels swimming with me away we fly. Okay. So let's keep listening after the first verse. See here, I'm still trying to keep the strings going. To keep the same atmosphere throughout. Here is an underwater effect that bridges vocals. This is going to take us into the bridge, and I thought it would be fun to reference the opening line of the lyrics, jumping into the river, and actually try to hear the music as if it was underwater. So you can see I named them Underwater. Try to remember. That's another thing about this that I wish I knew before I started, or I think I knew, but I just didn't do. I was lazy. I didn't organize my tracks. I didn't name them correctly. You can see Underwater, Rep Harm 1, Harm 2, Harm 1. These are not very good names. Right now, I can't really tell what is what. It's hard to remember after a while when you've been doing a few songs and you go back and forth. So name your files good, so you're going to remember exactly what it is. Know what you want the product or the project to be like before you start involving other people and creating files like this, so that you don't have to backtrack a lot to redo things. It's going to be a lot of time consuming, and it's better to just be very organized and know step by step what you're gonna have to do. So let's back up and listen to the underwater effect solo, meaning only those. This is done with this plugin right here. You can see this thing moving over here? That is a filter. And this filter is being steered by this little panel right down here, LFO1. And you can see I have a random glide set. So it's going to randomly go within the parameters I set up here, filtering random frequencies. You can see it in action. Lighter, and then goes a little darker. And you can do a lot of stuff with different plugins and with this one, with others. And I didn't know anything about this when I first started this project. And in order to learn and get the things sounding the way I wanted it to sound, I went to a lot of friends asking questions, a couple of professionals that I know that helped me, and also YouTube. There's a lot of websites you can subscribe to, get a lot of free online classes in anything really, any program you need to learn, any product you need to operate, or device you want to buy, or what's the best thing for this that I need to do. Or if you have any problems, there's a lot of other people who have had similar problems that are out there willing to help. So that is how I learned to achieve everything I did in this project. Let's keep going into the bridge. octaves here. I wanted to keep it still in the jazz atmosphere, so add some improvised elements. Take a stop there. But still not have 5-minute long solos. I wanted to kind of keep playable on the radio type of attitude to all the songs. So I'd say that would be maybe around 3 to 4 minutes. Not your 10-minute songs. They usually get faded out in the middle or something if it's too long. Maybe certain radio stations often obviously play long songs, but I wanted to practice writing shorter, more concise, to the point songs, which has also been a good exercise to say what you want to say in a shorter amount of words, or in this case, in a shorter amount of music. You can see I have 2 tracks highlighted here. That's because I end the solo with a little reverb tail. I wanted to play around a little bit with my trombone sound in the program itself, because I don't usually have the opportunity to do that. Just take a look what I did to achieve that funny effect here at the end. So let's solo these 2 and have a listen. So the biggest factor there is this delay. This is a delay. You can see these pillars here. This is repetitions of the clip. So here's the waveform. Do, dee, do. Those 3 notes. They're going to get repeated again. You can see this blue meter is not 100%. This is the volume of how loud the repeat will be. And then comes another. You can see they get weaker and weaker, or the volume is going down over time as we go on. What else did we do? We have the delay, then we compress it a bit, and then added a chorus effect. Let's hear it without the chorus effect. That's with and without. It's a very small difference, but it adds a little bit more of a electronic sound to it. So let's listen to the end of the trombone solo and go into the chorus. Another reverb tail on Bridges' vocals. You can hear that the vocals are panned a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left on the backgrounds. So just take a look at that for a second. This is her main vocals. There's almost in the middle. Down here is her background. You got 3 on the right and 3 on the left. The mixing process was one of the hardest elements for me because I'm so new to it and it's very intimidating. There's a lot of knobs and parameters and all kinds of stuff you need to learn. Each track can be panned, and let's just talk about pan for a second. Panning is
imagine a stage, and you're going to pick where the musician is standing on the stage. Where's the sound going to come from? Then we have this called automation, where you can change the volume over time. So the yellow line is the volume, and then I can make changes to it as the song goes without me having to do anything. But you cannot only automate volume, you can automate if the musicians should walk across the stage, and come back with the sound. And like I did with my effects, you can animate any of them. So there's a lot that goes into these programs. So I decided to keep many of the elements of my original composition from the MIDI controller. So let's check out what's going on behind the trombone solo right here. We got bass, electric keyboard, trombone, and Ian's drums. So let's solo those. Take a listen. So basically it's the same cello line, but transferred over to the electrical piano that also has some delay on it. And the bass, which is all MIDI. And I kept it very simple because I don't have the equipment to record myself playing anything bigger than my MIDI controller, and I cannot play piano very well and not perform well at all on that little thing. So I kept it all simple and let the improviser and the other musicians involved add as much as they wanted.
So I ended up basically having to record a video as well, which I did using my phone. I don't have a camera or anything fancy like that. So let's start checking this out. I'm going to try not to stop too much and not talk too much either, but I'll point out some things. I was lucky. We were traveling to Mexico right at the time I was trying to film this video. So that's where I got all the flyaway images. Using a shot backwards like this to fill up space. Unfortunately, I don't have Bridget singing, but we get to see her dance.
Jumping into the river, where the angels swimming with me, away, away we fly tonight, to a new place where everything is whole, and we cannot smell the fear we feel again. This world, come fly away.
was interesting to try to enhance the song, the music, and the lyrics with images. As well as using zoom in the camera to enhance movement in the music, as well as the lyrics, significance, meaning, without trying to be cheesy. It's difficult. These are just stock photos or videos you can download, like this one. Many people release them for free, or you can pay a little bit, or you can subscribe again to some websites that provide them. Also learn how to split the screen. It's been like this, a big challenge for me, something I had to learn and do some research about. So yes, you saw me play the trombone solo, and I recorded it all, finished it, and then decided we have to do some videos for this. I want to have a video album. So I decided to transcribe everything I had played and replay it on video. And that was a great experience, to transcribe myself and see what tendencies I had, because many of the songs started having similar lines or shapes of the music or similar chordal structures, or there was a lot of similarities with how I tend to think. So that has allowed me to branch out in other directions and also focus in on some of the elements that I really like and get even better and develop them even more. So that's been a great experience. You could probably tell at the end of this video that I was starting to run out of creative ideas to fill the length of the song with video. When I ran into this problem, I had to learn to use the software to create different effects, like a zoom like this, and maybe putting a filter on it like this. I never knew how to do it before, but one thing I've learned through this process is that you can do a lot just using a little. And I'm not gonna say and I'm not making any money off anything like this. I haven't found a new way to make a living off music, but I think this is great practice to become a wider musician or artist or teacher or whatever you want to call yourself. I believe that it has made me a better trombone player because I now know a little bit more about frequencies. I know a little bit more how to make a kick drum sound better, and I'm paying attention to how a room sounds, for example. Maybe I should face this wall instead of that wall when I play. Those kind of things. And also when playing, being more sensitive to the song and the surroundings. Okay, so let's move on to the next song, Lee Conant's. This song is about a great alto saxophone player. He sadly passed away in April this year. I believe not from COVID though, but he passed away, and he meant a lot for me when I was learning and studying jazz. So I called up some of my friends that was studying with me at that time from Toronto and said, I want to pay tribute to Lee Conant in this song. Would you perform it for me? And they were all very excited, so I was very lucky to
have the people I was envisioning the song to be playing the song. Here also Lewin, the guitar player, Lewin Fong, he did not know we were going to do a video when he recorded his solo. So he also had to go through the process of transcribing himself and replay the solo on video. So let's check this video out first, and then we'll break down the song, what element came first or what I did to achieve this. China Lewis on vocals.
That's flowing through all of the lands. I remember you for everything that you left behind, the spirit you shared into this world.
Switching the camera angles around to try to keep the video interesting.
Rest in peace, you're lost, but
Julian Andersson Bose on bass, Anthony Fung on drums. Unfortunately did not have time to send me any videos, so I could only include the picture in the beginning. It's a little bit hard to line up perfectly with the solo on video and the timing, and when you sit there, I need a better computer for that. So you can see that's basically how I recorded my trombone in my bedroom with some blankets around, into my laptop through an interface connected into my USB port. Keep changing those angles to make it more visually pleasing.
gone with the wave that's flowing through all of the lands. I remember you for everything that you left behind, the spirit you shared into this world, living through each one of us. Rest in peace, you're lost, but not forgotten.
Lighting is very important when you try to record yourself, especially with a lower quality camera like I have. So you can see there's a lot of shadow on the wall. It's because I'm lighting it up with a big lamp. But not a special lamp, it's just a regular house lamp. Like I'm doing right now, my bedroom lamp.
Okay, here we have the Lee Conan's Logic file. This song is one of those where I took an old idea that I had and reworked it a little bit, added some elements, and re-recorded it with the musicians for this specific project. So this song was written on the piano, but on the piano I used the same method, kind of a counterpoint structure, where I wrote the melody first and then added the bass line underneath. So let's take a look and zoom in on China's vocals. Solo.
Gone with the wave that's flowing.
First I wrote this, the melody, without lyrics.
I remember you for everything.
And then I added the bass.
That you left behind, the spirit you shared.
Okay. The second element I added was the trombone. That would be considering painting in the middle. So instead of having someone playing the chords on the guitar or piano, I am just playing a harmony counterpoint melody that provides the harmony that I need. So let's listen to those three elements together.
Gone with the wave that's flowing through all of the lands. I remember you for everything that you left behind, the spirit you shared.
Okay, so this is usually how I compose music, a little by a little, one melody at a time. And for this song in particular, I wrote it down as a lead sheet and sent it off with some instructions. For example, the guitar player, I wanted him to play the melody with the vocals.
Remember you for everything that you left.
So this song is a little bit more of a traditional jazz song in the structure format of the song. It has a head in and then the solos and the head out. So in order to make a big difference between the two heads that we were going to have in this song, I let the guitar player do some accompaniment with chords. I added a different trombone harmony that is more supportive of the melody, making it a little bit grander. And I asked the bass player to play without the arco. You're going to hear the trombone and vocals start in unison, and then they're going to split into harmony, creating a gear shift in the energy of the song.
Gone with the wave that's flowing through
Right there.
all of the lands. I remember you for everything that
I do these kind of tricks in order to make the music keep building and staying interesting and not repeating myself too much. I want to keep some elements of surprise, but also keep the familiarity of the melody. So in the mixing process, I always start with the drums. And Anthony Fung is a great recording engineer, and I did not have to do much with his drums, other than I tried to study what he did and I tried to replicate it to learn how to create such a good sound on the drums. This is how I usually start. I start with a kick drum. Take a listen. Goes in the middle, because the kick drum is always in the middle of the drum set. And it's usually the center of the whole band. Everything else is going to go from there. So we put our floor tom and we put it off to the right like that. Left goes over to the left, right overhead go to the right. Snare drum a little bit to the left, kind of off to the left of the kick. And then we start adding them in one by one. Forward tom, it's not playing that much right now. Left overhead, right overhead, and snare. And then you have to find a good balance of all the elements, and then also a good balance to the rest of the instruments. After that, I would add in some bass. Once you're happy with all of that, I would move on to guitar. And you can see he has 2 tracks. That's how Luan Fang likes his sound. He wants the direct input, which is the first one, DI, mixed with the acoustic mic in the room when he recorded. Makes the sound a little bit more bright and have a little bit more of an attack. Listen. Then I'll add the trombone. Find a balance there. Of course, we have to go into each individual instrument and pay close attention to the sound. So I'll show you what I did with the trombone. Take a listen. I use a lot of EQing. This is the EQ, and you can see here which frequencies are being excited right now. I've added a little bit high frequencies. Make it bright, make it dark. You want to have a little bit brighter. Down here, there could be some really low frequencies buzzing or some stuff like that happening at some point that could interfere with, let's say, the kick drum. Then I do something called sweeping. I like to use EQ like this. I take a peek and find something that sounds really ugly. Right there. Then I delete that frequency, making the sound a little bit more stable. And also those ugly frequencies are not interfering with another instrument that might be sounding pretty in that frequency. This is going to clean up your mix and make it sound clearer and not as muddy. On China's vocals, I did not have to do much either because she sounded amazing as she was.
Into this world,
Did some EQ, but the biggest part of her is the reverb. This huge reverb. Turn it off. Big difference.
You're lost, but not
On.
forgotten.
Another thing I want to bring your attention to, I did here, is I used some elements that at first I was going to cut out, but I started to kind of like them in the song, so I started to bring them out a little bit more. Here's some bass picking in the beginning that I'm panning from right and then to left. Let's listen. And I thought this was adding to a little bit of the eeriness of the beginning of the song. The feeling of losing someone. Especially with this squeak that comes in here. You can see I brought that out in the drums using a lot of automation with the volume, like we talked about earlier. As well, at the end, there was a little squeak in the bass. So I thought I'd bring that out with some automation again and some reverb and bring back that eerie feeling at the end. I think that just kind of creates a nice bow on the whole song, starting it off like we finish it. When all the mixing was done and I was happy with how it sounded and the volumes of all the instruments and all the effects and everything sounded smooth, it was time to enter the mastering stage. This was another thing I had never done, and basically started from scratch. It was very intimidating as well, but through YouTube and asking around, I got to learn a lot through this process. So this is what I did. I imported all of my final mixes into one new Logic file. And then I included my reference track. This is The Uprising by Christian Scott, and I put it underneath here. Now I can move this, put it under any of my songs and compare it to it. I can also jump easy from the first song to the third and back to the second to see if there's any discrepancies in the sounds between songs. Let's say the loudest song should not be quieter than the ballad, for example. Okay, so let's take a listen to my track. There we go. Then I can switch back to my reference track. Volume-wise, it's pretty similar. Mine is definitely a lot better sounding. Probably because of the quality I was able to record at. But they got a good energy comparison to each other. And then we can check another song. Let's try Fly Away, because you've heard that one already. Solo that one for a little bit. Completely other energy than a reference. But I think they sit pretty good next to each other. And what we try to achieve with this is, now when we're listening to, let's say Spotify, we have playlists. Maybe we're not listening to the whole album altogether. We're jumping from this artist to this artist. I didn't want my song to sound disappointing in the volume or in the energy or the sound quality. So this is what we're trying to achieve here. Let's see, on Fly Away, what I did here, there's a limiter where you basically can raise the gain, and you can set a ceiling on how high the meter should go so it doesn't clip and distort the sound, but you can still get higher volume. So let's listen to that. This is without, and this is with. Pretty big difference in the volume. And then I use something called an exciter. This is set to 6,300 hertz, it says here, and it's going to boost that frequencies a little bit, adding a little bit more excitement to it, and kind of adds a little shimmer, sparkle on the song. Let's listen to Without and With. A little bit brighter. It's like it opens up a little. One more time. Without and With. We also can use some EQ here. I've boosted a little bit more on the high and removed a little bit of the low frequencies. And this is very, very minor changes. And I took help of this multimeter right here, where you can reference what you're hearing to what you're seeing to make sure, okay, missing a little bit of these frequencies, too much of this one. And then you can go in and do your small changes. Again, this is, people have degrees and have worked all their life just being a master engineer. So I'm just scratching the surface on knowledge here. But again, it's been very helpful for me to dig in and absorb all this new information as a musician. Okay, but the title was There's No Reason Not to Release Your Music in 2021. So that's the ultimate goal that I wanted to do with this project. I wanted to actually go from start to finish, the release of my own album that I created on my laptop. So next we need to find a distributor. I am using this website right here called DistroKid. And they will help you distribute your music to any platform that you want to. You can see all the platforms out here to the right where my music is, and to the left you can see what album or single it is. So what we do to upload is we create an account with DistroKid. They cost $20 for unlimited amount of uploads for 1 year, and then we hit upload. Here we're gonna get to fill in what platforms we want our music to be released on, how many songs we are going to upload, some more information about you, and then right here is something very important, release date. You should at least try to upload your song about 6 weeks before you intend it to be released. This is going to allow you to pitch it to playlists, and you can actually pitch it to Spotify itself. And if enough people pre-save your track, meaning they save the link of the track even before it has been released, then Spotify will help push it out as well to new people. So remember that, about 6 weeks. This is also going to get you time to do some promotion and tell people about your song that is coming out. Here you're going to upload album cover, pick some language preferences and the title, information about the song, lyrics. You get to set your price for one song here per song. They have some other add-ons that you can pay a little extra for, and some disclosures you gotta agree to, and then you hit done. And then it takes about a week, and it's going to be available on the streaming platforms that you wish to include it on. So what I did is I took my calendar and I wrote out a plan on what day am I releasing what song, and when is the video coming out as a promotion for the release of the song, etc., etc. Then I went over to Wix and made sure that my website is up to date. I'm using this, it's an online service called Wix, and you can, I believe, have a free account and build your website completely for free. And let's see how my website looks right now. We go into the editor of Wix. Okay, so this is what the website editor looks like. And you can see here I have an album, a player right there, and the first video of April presented. And if we go to the music page, then you can see that these videos have now created a quite nice portfolio for me to show people if I'm applying for a gig at some point, or they want to see how I compose, arrange, my video skills, anything like that. This is a good library for people to go and check out. I also thought it would give my friends a good opportunity to stay motivated and create some material that they could also use for self-promotion. I thought we could help each other out a little bit during this pandemic. So yeah, I have learned a lot through creating all of this art, both about video, recording, as well as music. And I hope I've been able to show you some things that you might have not thought about before, or showed you something new that you want to start checking out. To finish off this class, I would like to play one more song for you. This is the title track of the album. It's called April, and it's all about the pandemic and how we all felt back in April when no one really knew much about the virus, and a lot of people started to just self-quarantine and buying a lot of toilet paper and being very scared. So I tried to write some lyrics about that experience. And this song is an old idea that some of you might recognize. I wrote it last year in Panama. It's a bit of a blues form that we played with one of my ensembles. And then I rediscovered it a little bit and changed up some things. It features Jazz Kaiser on the drums. She played a short versions of a couple of grooves, and then I actually copied and pasted together. It was a fun experience using some electronic transitions on acoustic drums. Then we have Ekaterina CV from Panama, who's singing the vocals. I'm doing a little bit of backup vocals and playing the trombone, obviously. And then we have Andrew McCanch from Toronto playing the trumpet. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.